Hey guys, it's April with So Darn Cute Quilting. I am quilting a new quilt and it is a vintage quilt. I've done a little bit of research and I believe it's called SunLight. It could also be called Starburst. Both of those are names that you can find it on Pinterest. To find the pattern, I think you look up Sunburst. And then Starlight has an article about the pattern. So this is a custom quilt that I am doing for a client of mine, and we have gone through and discussed the type of quilting that she wants and what type of motifs that she would like to have in certain places. So it's turning out really well. The swirls are here in these four corners, and then we have the starburst right here, which looks amazing. I think I really like how that turned out. And then on the edges I have these feathers, and when the two blocks come together they make this kind of diamond shape right here, and this is with the feathers together. The neat thing that is happening as I'm quilting it is that the major star, the big star, is starting to have this outline effect from where the feathers are outlined, and it looks great. So I have not gotten down here yet, but this is what it's looking like so far. And I was going to stitch through some of these designs so that you can see, you know, how it works and what it looks like. So let's go ahead and start with the center, and we'll start with the star. And there's a few different elements that go to the star. First we're going to do a crisscross, and then we're also going to do kind of like a dot to dot movement throughout the edge of the star. So we're going to tack off right here. So this is a little bit, I like to tack off kind of like in a bulky seam. It seems to really hold the thread in, and that's just how I just think it works better that way. We're gonna stitch in the ditch until we get to the point. Now I have this ruler, and this is by Finishing Touches. I bought this online. They have a store online called Finishing Touches Quilt Shop. The nice thing about this ruler is that it has these edges right here that are 1/4 inch. And you can use any straight edge ruler that you like, but this is my favorite one. It's long enough but not too long. It fits in my hand pretty well, and it has a couple of different angles on it, as well as 1/4 inch mark lines and a 1/2 inch, or these are 1 inch right here, and then 1/2 inch on the other side. So it's a great ruler. They had, and it came in a set, and it didn't cost that much. I think the whole set was like $35, and you got like 5 rulers. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. We're going to take the point of the ruler, and we're going to take the other point of the ruler, the inside point, and we're going to put it on the other opposite diagonal end of the star. So here we go. Firmly hold the ruler down. You don't want it to slide at all while you're stitching on that star. So that's your first one. Do our second one. Right at the point, and then diagonally all the way across. I'm making sure that this point is matching up with the other point of the star. Here we go. Okay, so what we have to do now is stitch in the ditch so that we can get over to where we want to be. Usually I will stitch in the ditch when I first start a quilt on the whole first row, and that will help me kind of decide what motifs can go where. But once I start quilting the rest of the quilt, I stitch in the ditch as I go with each block. So each section gets stitched all the way down while I work through it, putting in the different motifs. Okay, so here we are. We're at our point of our star. We have the cross in the middle. We want to make sure that we hit that cross, and we're going to go to the other end of the star where the other point is at. Okay, so just so you can kind of hopefully get a better look at it. My point is right here on the edge of the star. It's kind of hard to see because of the light, but I'm going to go ahead and move camera back down, and there we go. So I want to first make sure that this is 1/4 of an inch away, okay? And slowly go through to make sure that it's going to meet right there in the middle. You don't want to do too much fudging in the middle, but you just want to make sure that that all meets up. So now we're going to head over here and go to this other point back there. I'm going to do this a little. There we go. There's our point, and we're going to go from here to this point right here, matching it up, making sure we're 1/4 of an inch. If you can look at things like notice that this line right here matches up exactly with this line on my ruler, that makes me know that things are going good. Okay. So I'm going to stop here, inch over a little bit, just make sure everything's going right, and there we go. So that is the first part of the star. Now the second part of the star is I use the ruler to guide myself around and make more points. So how I want my ruler to lay is I want the very edge of my ruler to lay right on that point right there. Okay, so I want to barely see the blue. I don't want to see very much of it, just barely see it. Sorry, it's supposed to be the other way. So see how that is supposed to be right on the edge there. Like this would be too much, and I just want to barely see it. So I'm going to pull up, and I want to be centered with this line over here. So I want to be right in the middle of that V right there. Next thing I'm going to do is come down again, put my point on the edge of the star, the point of the star, so that I know that I'm coming down at the right angle. And that gives you this double V action going on here, and it kind of makes the star just pop even more. So here we go again. See, I have it just barely over that tip. I want to make sure I'm straight in front of that point and come down to the right angle. Okay, we're going to go again. This one is a little bit tricky because it has a wider part right here, but that's okay. We're just going to kind of use the edge of it because we don't want to go into the blue. So we're going to kind of just use the edge of it. And then we're going to go down here. Do the same thing here. And then tip this tip with that tip. Again, make sure that I'm barely seeing. Okay. We're going to keep going. The tip here and the tip there. Again. See, like here you want to make sure that you're right above this point here. Your needle needs to be right above that. and do your tip. Again. As you go through this and you do more and more any kind of ruler work, you begin to be able to judge 1/4 of an inch a lot better. It just takes a little bit of practice. Okay, so that's it. We're done with the star. And I love how some of these fabrics are a different shade than some of the other fabrics. I don't know if you can tell, but this is more of a cream in the center square, and on the points they used more of a white. And it's like that throughout the whole quilt, and it really is appealing, especially in the photography. Whenever I'm taking pictures of the quilt, it looks really neat. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to stitch in the ditch, and then we're going to do the swirls, and then we're going to do the feathers. Okay? So stitching in the ditch sometimes can be difficult or annoying, or I don't know. Anyways, it helps hold the quilt down, and it helps the piecing look really good. So if you're going to get any kind of custom quilting, make sure that your custom quilter stitches in the ditch, because otherwise there's no really need for custom quilting. Your quilt should pop, like the pattern of the quilt should pop. It shouldn't be all about the quilting, it should be about the pattern of the quilt. And by stitching in the ditch, you're helping enhance that pattern. Okay, swirl away. You see, this is a closed swirl. The whole thing is enclosed in one area. There's all kinds of different swirls, but I really like this enclosed swirl. And then I kind of like to come over here and do a little bit different. Each one I tried to take the swirl in the opposite direction. It doesn't always happen. But looky there, we ran out of thread. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and put some new thread in, and then get started up again. Okay, so we're back. I have gotten a new bobbin in, and I am ready to get started again, but I don't want to get started just like right there in the middle of that swirl. I want to pull it back to at least the starting point right here, where the thread is a little bit thicker, so you can kind of hide the start and stop. Okay, so pull all those little guys out. Pull these guys nice and tight and put them way back. Here we go. So I'm going to kind of start right here in the, not right where I want to start, but a little bit off, a little bit back. And I'm going to hold on to them securely. Make sure I go down right exactly where they are and do little teeny tiny stitches. And then until I get where I want it to be. Okay? So there I am. And we're going to keep going. Okay, so that's it. We're done with the swirls. So what do we do with these guys? Okay, they are definitely nice and tight. Since I started back here and I barely went all the way over here, and then I kind of covered up where those threads ended with really tight stitches, then we will be good. So we're just going to clip, 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 and clip. And let me tell you, these scissors are my favorite. These are Filmora scissors 738 SB. I got them from Linda's Electric Quilters when I first started long arming, and I've had them since then, years, I can't even remember. Anyways, they still sell them. They are my favorite snips I've ever had, and I keep them on a magnet on the side of my long arm. So I'm going to put my thread taker outer away, and we are going to move over to, let's do this, we'll do the bottom diamond. Okay. How I do the diamonds is I come straight down the center until I have just a hair hanging over there, maybe like an 1/8 of an inch, and then I come down to here and leave that little 1/8 of an inch on there. Do this too. The reason why I'm doing this is because I thought the 1/4 inch was way too wide, and I thought that too narrow, and then I thought that the 1/2 an inch was too wide. So I'm kind of trying to do a little bit in between, leaning towards the 1/4 of an inch. The big thing is you want to make sure that you meet with this point up here where you started. So there we go. So I'm going to do a row of feathers coming up here, come straight down the middle, do another row of feathers coming up here. I'm trying to get my 3rd feather to meet with this point here. So let's try it. Just a little dollop. So, if you're wondering, I think of that song, do a dollop, do a dollop, do a dollop, do a dollop. Every time I'm trying to make sure that my feathers come out nice and dollopy. So here we go, dollop away. Okay, so that's it. And I'm just going to get right up in here and break thread. Kind of move it a little. And like I said, this is where a bunch of fabric hangs out, right here in these points. And it's easier to bury your threads in there. Okay. So what we've done is we have tackled the diamond shaped feather right here. I'm going to come back and stitch in the ditch, don't worry. And then we've done the swirls in the squares and the star in the middle. So I'm going to keep going, and I am posting on Instagram and Facebook, and this video should be on YouTube. So if you want to, I will hopefully I will put in the link below, in the thing below, put the links so that you guys can see some other pictures of the quilt. So you guys have a wonderful day and take care. Bye.